Hello and welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express papers Chandigarh edition. You can see the topics that we are covering. Now, most of them are important. I decided to place a star on the important topics, and almost all the topics there are stars. Okay. So recently we had this issue about the renaming of the country. So changing it from India to Bharat. Now, obviously in the first front page you get basic idea, but there is the explainer section which tells us about the genesis of the word Bharat as well as India. So that I think you should study. Then digital public infrastructure. Sometime back there was a news, 2 days back actually, as to why India is promoting the digital public infrastructure. Same thing is repeated. And in fact, in today morning, I shared with you a link about the news article. So I want you to study this. I want you to prepare this. So this is on the Telegram. Then custodial death and conditions of women in prisons. Two separate topics. We have a case of custodial death that has taken place and a separate incident where Supreme Court is looking at the condition of women in the prisons. And there is a reference of Amitav Roy committee report, which is looking into prison or jail reforms. So again, these two are important. I'm not elaborating it, even though I have content ready for it, but today I'm not doing it. Then Prime Minister Modi is off to Jakarta for East Asia Summit. Now, here we have briefly some objectives as to what Prime Minister Modi will be, focusing upon. Now, I'll connect this with the opinion section. Opinion section, we have an article about India's foreign policy on the second page. So it tells us about India's foreign policy with reference to G20 and East Asia Summit. Very good, insightful points we get over here. Then weather events. Again, this article I shared with you early in the morning, and this is the title was that why are we having more of these cyclones on the western coast of India? Traditionally, it is on the eastern coast, but why in the western coast? Now, interestingly, that was one of the themes of this article. Here it is telling us about other extreme weather events and what are the reasons responsible for it. And this is something that can be easily picked in the GS1 paper, which covers geography. It will always be in GS1 because it has geographical phenomena that we have to describe. Then coming to GS1 history, sculptures of Nataraja and the dancing girl from the Harappan period. This will be showcased. Now here there is a mention of three terms actually. So one is Chilla tradition, Shelpa Sutra, and lost wax technique. Both these are made by lost wax technique. It's described in the NCERTs also. Coming to the economy section, we have two very important themes. So one is about the central bank digital currency. We get a definition of this. What is the CBDC? And there is an effort going on about linking CBDC with unified payment interface. So very, very important, right? We need to prepare this. Okay. Then we have a statement from Finance Minister on a lot of things, but the headline was that we need a global framework on cryptocurrencies. So this I'll be discussing, plus what are the threats associated with cryptocurrencies. These were flagged by the Reserve Bank of India previously. Okay, international section I have not mentioned, but it's short and sweet. We'll easily cover it. Okay, so yeah, so first topic is the president sent an invite to the ministers, and it was written as President of Bharat and not President of India. So, and as well as for Prime Minister also, Prime Minister of Bharat and not Prime Minister of India. So you must be aware that there is some hue and cry, especially from the opposition, about the possible renaming of India and Bharat. By the way, Bharat and India is basically the same thing. India is the English version, Bharat is the translation. Okay. So government is saying that this is all a rumor, right? So we shouldn't. So that is what the government stance is right now. All this we will discuss later. The explainers will come to this later. Now coming to the G20, not very significant, but in G20 there is a difference of opinion between India and China with reference to a joint communique. After the summit will get over, uh, there is a joint communique which will be released, a joint statement that would be released. Now, Chinese want the mention of One Belt, One Road initiative. So China wants to iterate it. China wants to have its imprint on the G20 summit. Now, India obviously does not like the One Belt, One Road. And one major reason is that one of the arms of the One Belt, One Road, that is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, passes through Kashmir, which India does not like. Gilgit-Baltistan region, it passes through that. Okay, so it violates India's sovereignty. So India is not okay with it. The second thing is India wants Vasudev Kutumbakam to be part of this joint communique. China has a problem with it. See, the theme for this G20 summit, India summit, is One Earth, One Family, One Future. And Vasudev Kutumbakam means the world is one family. Right? So Chinese are saying that this is not a literal translation because it also has one future. So Chinese side are doing something that will offend Indians, that's all. Okay. Moving on. UPI to credit platform, India to showcase its digital infra at the summit. So this is a very brief one. I want you to read this article. This article tells us about the digital public infra, which is branded as the India Stack, and what are its key features and why India wants to promote it. Some of it I have summarized over here. So I've already told you digital public infrastructure is coined as or branded as India Stack. And there are three pillars to it. So pillar number one is identity. So we have Aadhaar, right? So Aadhaar is the identity. All of our digital things, whatever it is linked with the Aadhaar. Okay. Payments. So we are moving towards a cashless system. So we have the UPI. Only UPI was mentioned here, but I would say we have RuPay credit card also. Now we are focusing on central bank digital currencies. These two were not mentioned. I am adding it because these are, we have the credit card as Visa or Masterclass. But now these are foreign companies that provide this credit card facility. So we have developed our indigenous system known as RuPay. So you must have heard about RuPay credit cards. So these are again Indian innovations. India has developed it. So this is part of digital public infrastructure. Then lastly, data governance. So how the data is managed, how the data is protected. So all of this comes under data governance. So for this, there is an agency within the government, Data Empowerment and Protection Architecture Agency. So this is the body. Now we can keep elaborating this, we can keep expanding this. For example, e-governance can also be part of your digital public infrastructure, right? So that can also be there. But from this article, I just got these points. For instance, we have the COVID app and all those things, telemedicine, all of this are part of digital infrastructure. Now, India is going to showcase this at the G20 summit. In fact, India has already been doing it. The reason they're saying is, the experts are saying is that India wants to showcase itself as an alternative to China. China, which is having this IT province, but it is basically having this dominance in the IT hardware. It is known as an hardware country. India wants to differentiate itself by saying that IT, we're into the software side of things. Further, we are an open and transparent system, and our system is reliable and can be used elsewhere in the world. Right. So diplomacy, if we are negotiating or interacting with any other country, we can offer these services. And these are proven In fact, Prime Minister Modi said that India is the laboratory of the world. So these are already proven. Now you can implement it in your respective countries. Okay, so that's it. Just a second. Now, this news I'm basically covering for this custodial death that has taken place. So, NDPS, that is somebody arrested for drugs, dies in custody. Seven cops are booked for murder. So, this is a theme concerning custodial death and torture. Right. So, how prevalent this issue is, and how can we solve this issue? Need for police reforms. So, this is the theme that we need to focus upon. Okay. Now, you can just focus on this thing. One of the things is we should have. There is this Prakash Singh committee report, and it has said that for investigative exercises, the police should not engage in torture. They tend to move towards torture and physical abuse. Rather, modern techniques should be used. Better investigative techniques should be used so that they do not resort to torture. And there should be a police complaints authority as well. Prime Minister Modi leaves for ASEAN at the East Asia Summit today. Right, so he has left for this. Okay. Now, what is this East Asia Summit, first of all? East Asia Summit is Asian countries plus 6 other countries. Yesterday also we discussed, and India obviously is part of the East Asia Summit. This also includes non-Asian countries like US, Australia, New Zealand. Okay, I think somewhere here, US, China, Japan, Australia are its dialogue partners. Now, what is India going to discuss? So, India is going to finalize with Asian countries some maritime cooperation, some framework for maritime cooperation. So that will come up. We expect that to come up. Then the controversy regarding the China's new standard map, where China has, brought in the Indian part of Arunachal Pradesh, the entire Arunachal Pradesh they have taken in their map. Then Aksai Chin region, as well as the region of the 9-dash line, the South China Sea region. So maybe that may be taken up. Then how India and Asian countries can boost their trade. Now, these talks are important, especially when the relationship between the Asian nations has been upgraded to comprehensive strategic partnership. So this happened last year. So this basically means the relationship between the countries have been intensified. ED initiates process to issue red corner notice against online gambling kingpins. Now, what is red corner notice? So, red corner notice are issued for fugitives wanted either for prosecution or to serve a sentence. So, those who have run away from the country, so for them, red corner notice is issued. So, it is basically a request for the law enforcement agencies of other countries to find that person, extradite, or bring him back to the country. That's all. This is the East Asia Summit. These are the member countries, as you can see. Okay. Now the geography one, GS1 again. Tropical cyclones, especially in the Arabian Sea, are becoming more and more frequent. Okay. So, yeah, I think let's cover that part only. Why is it becoming more and more frequent? And why are we having more and more of these rains on the western part of India, where there is Arabian Sea? So according to the expert, This may be because of a positive Indian Ocean dipole. So let me show you the positive Indian Ocean dipole. So this is positive, we are having this. So positive Indian Ocean dipole means that the air, the sea or the water in the Arabian Sea region is hot, it's warmer as compared to sea on the eastern side. Now, when the water is warm, the surrounding air will also be warmer, and this allows the air to carry more moisture. Right? So, water carrying capacity of the air increases or the humidity increases, and therefore more precipitation takes place over here. So that is one reason. And this is obviously because this is land, it will be hotter. So this will be low pressure, relatively low, greater low pressure as compared to this. So air is attracted towards this region. So that is one reason. Now these things have been intensified because of climate change, global warming. So we are having more of these extreme weather events. So that is there. Besides, we can also say that the sea level is increasing. The sea level is increasing because of global warming, and this is leading to storm surges, etc. Okay, so these are factors, and compound with this, we can always talk about urban flooding. That is also because cloudbursts are taking place, a lot of precipitation at a very localized area, plus poor urban planning, drainage system. So those are also issues. Okay, so these are from the expert. Next is Himachal Pradesh. So is Himachal Pradesh, why are we having these floods in Himachal Pradesh? That was the main theme. So the expert is saying that one reason is because of all these construction related activities, the forest cover has been removed. Now forest, it is darker vegetation that is there. It's green, brown, dark brown. So as a result of this, the albedo has been affected. Albedo is, now we are absorbing, we are reflecting more light. Forests were absorbing the sun rays, but now we are reflecting more light. So as a result, more heat is generated. So allowing more conditions for precipitation. So albedo. Second is, when you remove the forest cover, there is also this thing that forests act as breakwaters. So when rains are taking place, forest helps break the speed of the water. Plus that allows for the water to be retained onto the soil, percolate onto the soil. So that is also not happening. Besides, we have the issue of drainage and poor urban infrastructure. So those are also factors. So therefore, this is a man-made disaster. Rain would have taken place, but because of the destruction of the forest, unplanned urbanization, we have intensified this problem. Then there is discussion over forest fires and heat waves taking place. So more so about the forest fires, especially in the region of Australia. So we are hearing about Australia, Indonesia region. So the reason is that there is less soil moisture because of intense heating. There is less soil moisture. There is a creation of a high pressure system. So because of the high pressure system, what happens? There is a sinking air. When there is a low pressure system, when the heating takes place, the air tends to rise and escape. While in the high pressure system, the air tends to subside. So there is a sinking air, and it provides conditions because of this, conditions which are conducive for forest fire. Dryness and this sinking air creates this situation. Furthermore, the vegetation grown as like palm oil, etc. So they are obviously more prone to fire. If anything happens, if anything ignites it, it will burn. So these are the factors that have been given. The nature of the vegetation, less soil moisture, high pressure system, which leads to sinking air. So that is there. What's it? So that's all. Uttarakhand also has been explained over here. Uttarakhand leading to low pressure system. Yeah, why did we have this rains in this Uttarakhand? In fact, Himachal also we can discuss. So one is the strong current of Bay of Bengal, which was carrying the moisture, Arabian Sea, and Western disturbance. So collectively, these two took place. So therefore, Himachal and Uttarakhand had too much of rains in a short span of time. G20 in New Delhi, very briefly we'll cover these. France is saying that this is a chance to build joint responses to global challenges. So, okay, that's fine. But what are this challenges that we have? So one challenge that has been listed over here is fragmentation of the world, which we may presume that it is about the disagreements and the tensions between the world countries on various issues. Now, the issues that we have is other issues are peace and stability, poverty alleviation, protection of climate change related concerns, food security, and digital regulations. So these are global challenges, and we need a global solution for the same. We need multilateral action. We need all countries working together. China is saying it is fine with India hosting the summit, G20 summit, and it is ready to work with the partner countries. Now here we basically get which all countries are there part of the G20 and the weightage of the G20. G20 represents 85% of the global GDP, 75% of the global trade, and 2/3 of the world population. Next, the important one, sculptures of Nataraja and Dancing Girl to greet delegates at venue. So Nataraj one, you can see Nataraja, this thing. Okay. So these are from the Chola tradition, and the Dancing Girl is from the Harappan period. So this was found at Mohenjo-daro. Now these were made with the lost wax technique, right? Lost wax technique. Okay. Now first let's cover Nataraja, basic details that I mentioned. So lost wax casting process is mentioned. Besides, the process for making this has been explained in the Shilpa Sutra. And what is Shilpa Sutra? It is ancient Hindu text which is considered as a manual for sculpture and Hindu iconography. These are all sculptures and Hindu iconography. So what is iconography now? It is basically the content of the images, and sculptures are also images only. Further, the way of making this is reflective of the Chila tradition which was prevalent in southern part of India. Now what does this Nataraja painting sculpture reflect? So Nataraja is also known as the Lord of the Dance. Now why are we discussing this? First of all, let's say pre-question is there is a description, and then you're given the 4 options. So for that, this may be helpful. Okay, so Nataraja is known as the Lord of Dance, and his posture reflects him being omnipresent and infinite. It is synthesis of religion, philosophy, art, craft, and science. Fine. And it represents both Shiva as well as Shakti. And interestingly, the point at which the lander, Chandrayaan-3, the lander landed, that was known as Shiv Shakti point. Then there is the Harappan Dancing Girl is also reflected, so that will be placed inside the inside the podium, inside the place there it will be showcased. Okay, next article. This is about jail reforms, particularly the concerns about the women. I think this also I have shared, or maybe on the Instagram, but somewhere I have posted it. Okay, so conditions or the issues and the challenges that women face in jail, what are the issues that they have, and we can build upon it further. So this is one theme. Another thing is overall need for the reforms in the jails, right? So that can be there. Today we are just focusing on the women side of things. And why are we hearing? Because of the Amitav Roy committee and the Supreme Court, right? So they are looking into this issue. So So fine, let's do this one by one. So one is the poor conditions. Then there is this possibility of meeting their children. That is difficult. They have to meet, the women inmates have to meet um, behind the bars, right? So intimacy between the child and the mother does not take place in most of the prisons. Basic things like sanitary napkins, etc., are not available for women. Then there are common facilities like kitchens, etc., where male and women are together. So that is uncomfortable. Okay. Then there is no separate facility for convicts and under trials. So under trial is a person who has been, who's it's not proven to be guilty of committed crime, but convicts are more hardened version. So normally they are separated. But in the case of women, because of maybe less infrastructure, that separation is not there. So that's not a good thing. Besides, there is lack of gender-specific training amongst the staff which manages the jail. So that is again an issue. Now, one of the things that can be done with reference to, there is one issue is that there is a lot of people in the jail. So one thing could be done is that for petty offenses, people should not be imprisoned. Rather, they should be given punishments of community service, etc. You can take a screenshot if you wish. So I want you to prepare on jail reforms, one separately overall and one from women perspective. Now we come to the editorial page. Not much actually today. Okay. So this one is telling us about central bank digital currency, and RBI should be careful while introducing the central bank digital currency. It is just stating some facts like it is in pilot mode. It is being released in Ahmedabad, Chandigarh, Guwahati, some cities. There are these 2.6 lakh merchants who are working on the CBDC transactions. This one is the most important, not even this one. By the way, just now I have shared a snippet which gives us some facts about tax collection, right? Or we can some proof about the whitening of the tax base or the number of people who are submitting the taxes. So these you should, some of them you should just memorize so that you can write your answer on whitening of the tax base. So I think it is an important topic from GS3 point of view. Now let's cover this one. This is for GS2, foreign policy. North and South, East and West. East Asia Summit in Jakarta and the G20 in Delhi highlight the irreversible crisis in the old multilateral order. Fine. Okay, so what is India doing? Basically, let's focus over here. This is all history. I'm not very interested. We're interested here. So Prime Minister is going to Jakarta. He'll be meeting the Asian nations. So what would India be discussing? One article we did this, but this is more insightful. So one thing discussion may take place is about Quad. So Quad grouping, which is US, India, Japan, Australia. Prime Minister Modi would like to underline that Quad is not a competition with the Asia, but rather it will provide regional stability to the region. Okay. Next, the focus will be on re-globalization. In fact, the foreign minister, Mr. Jaishankar, has been talking about re-globalization. So globalization, of course, we have, but there are certain issues with the globalization. So we need to re-globalization. I think let's focus a bit here also. So what are the issues? The dominance of the West, the multilateral institutions, etc. Again, there is a dominance of the West. Okay, so that is an issue. The global South feels that their concerns are not addressed. The way agreements and decisions are made, it favors one grouping as compared to the other. So we need to bring in inclusiveness and equity in international relations. So we need to re-globalize. We need to rethink the world order. And this also includes reforming the multilateral institutions. So here, if we can just read this, it'll be nice. So India is going to focus on re-globalization, which is more diversified, more democratic, and where there would be multiple centers of production, not just of consumption. This is an apparent reference to China. So simply put, it means globalization can't be tethered to Chinese factories and Beijing's political fancies. Fine. So more diversified, more democratic. It's one way of saying dominance of China that we're concerned about it. We need to re-globalize. Everything is being manufactured in China and other countries are consumers. So this is not right. Then, at a time when the world countries are complaining about the multilateral institutions and the issues with the global setup that is there, India is using the same very same platforms to bring in collective solutions. So they're using it for a range of consequential issues like modernizing the global tax regime, reforming the multilateral development banks, right? Digital public infrastructure, humanitarian aid. So India is working on that. Then the concerns of the global south should be showcased on the G20 summit. That is what something that India should be doing. Okay, so these are the core areas. So this I have discussed. Now let me tell you about this also. So basically in the past, in the Cold War era, India was concerned about the world being divided into the two world bloc, then unipolar world. Now India has come to realize over the years that unipolar world is not a concern. It was not such a big concern as compared to a unipolar Asia. That is the rise and the dominance of China, and the way it has been done, and, it's threatening. China has been threatening in terms of borders, in terms of trade. So this is not good, and we need to rethink. We need to realign our priorities. So that is it. So world countries learned it. Now India is also learning it, and President Xi Jinping's hegemonic ambitions with reference to borders, with reference to Taiwan, we have, it made it very visible. It was earlier under at the cover, but now it is out in the open. Okay, next article. A bridge for the world. India's experience in inclusive growth can help develop global solution. मतलब ठीक है, we can get lot of points over here, but I'm not really convinced. Anyways, now what I think is this statement seems like important. Like, what can India do to contribute to and aid develop global solutions for global problems? What India can do. Now, this is something that can be obviously GS2 and more so the essay paper. And I think you should prepare on these lines. Okay, so basic some points I have listed over here. So one is this India solution of inclusive growth and financial inclusion. India came up with Jan Aadhaar Mobile Trinity, bringing more people under the ambit of the financial services. Direct benefit transfer as a mode of subsidy payment. So direct benefit transfer ensures that prices of the commodities are not distorted. At the same time, the leakage does not take place, because the money directly goes into the account of the beneficiary, which is authenticated by Aadhaar. We developed UPI to make it easy for making cashless payments. It's just so convenient. We all are used to it now. Okay. Besides, we need to address the issue of climate change, sustainable agriculture. So there, for climate change, we have the zero budget natural farming. So traditional methods can be rethought through. Okay, sustainable use of manure and all those things. Okay, then we have the net zero target that the author is saying net zero target by 2070. Now why I don't like this, because other countries have the net zero target of 2040. What can we teach them? Okay, so these are certain points that you can mention. What India can do, so showcase, and maybe here you can link it with these points that we did in this article over here. reglobalization, collective solution, leadership on that part that you can show. Now we come to the international section, the world section. In Hong Kong, an interesting development is taking place. The top court orders legal framework for same-sex unions. So same-sex people living together, but they does not grant full marriage rights. Okay, so some progress is taking place in some part of the world with reference to same-sex relationships. North Korea's president Kim, supreme leader Kim and Russia's president Putin, they plan to meet. Now, why would these two countries plan to meet? We don't know what they'll talk, right? We really don't know what is going on, but we expect them to talk about an arms deal. See, because of the Ukraine war, Russia has exhausted its arsenal. It requires military support, military hardware. So North Korea is isolated. So North Korea may supply arms and ammunition to Russia. So maybe that is the part of the agreement. And that is what is mentioned in this article. Now, I think that North Korea would in return get something. It would get a friend because North Korea is isolated like anything. So they'll get a friend. But friendship is not so important to them. Maybe they can get access to new technologies, nuclear weapons, hypersonic missiles. So maybe that is something that interests them, so which Russia can offer. Okay. Now I'll tell you something very, very interesting. Very interesting. Russia and North Korea did not have good relations in the past. And if North Korea actually nuclearizes nuclear weapons and all since Russia is a neighbor of North Korea, in some ways it is a threat to Russia because of the nuclear weapons in North Korea. So they will have to balance this approach. It's a lot of takeaways are there basically. Okay. Blow to Janta. Janta is the military dictatorship, a term used for that. So blow to Janta. Myanmar barred from leading the Asian summit, which will take place in 2026. Why? Because Myanmar is under the control of military dictatorship. So the military seized power violently in 2021. So because of this, because of no democracy being there, they will not be able to host the Asian summit. At Africa Climate Summit called for a global carbon tax. Okay, so because they're saying that Africa is suffering because of climate change, a lot of cost has been inflicted, disasters are taking place. So this is not good. So there should be a tax on pollution. So global carbon tax should be there. So you said, okay, fine, India will do it or Africa will do it, impose a tax. But why not have it globally? Because climate change is the global problem. Now, with the reference to this, we already have an example of European Union, which has carbon border adjustment mechanism. So something like that, maybe this is something like that implies. Coming to the economy section. So we have the finance minister. So at some summit, she makes a case for having a framework, a global framework, let me put it this way, to handle challenges related to crypto assets. So that is one thing. But besides this, other things have also been discussed. Remittances, tax filing. So those are also discussed. So only one topic has been emphasized over here. Now you see, this topic can easily be asked in your GS3 paper. This is current. This involves an element of policy making. In fact, GS2 also depends. Because governance thing is there. So this can be asked more likely in GS2. Okay. So you should prepare this. Now I was thinking as crypto assets, so I hope you understand private cryptocurrencies, people investing in that. So those are assets. So what are the concerns? So there is the concern of, let's say, private currencies. A lot of companies are there which are offering private currency, and these currencies, anybody who's holding it, that is an asset. So the concerns are, we don't know what is the regulatory framework. We don't know who's controlling it, who's managing, what is the algorithm. If people start investing, if people with knowledge do it, fine. But if common people start doing it, they may tend to lose, and maybe a lot of money may go out of the country. So that will be disastrous. So we don't know about the regulatory framework. There is no regulatory framework. The concerns about the safety and the safeguards. In fact, people who have been trading in cryptocurrencies have incurred a lot of losses because of extreme volatility. In fact, a scam had also come up where a person who was holding billions of cryptocurrency assets lost it in a day. So wrongful conduct was also has come to light. Okay, so that is one issue. Second is that crypto assets, it may be used as a conduit for black money and money laundering. Right, so transferring your money to another country, then bringing it back to India, converting that black money into white money. So money laundering. Then what if cyber attacks? What is the security framework? Right, we don't know this. So that is again a matter of concern. A lot of money parked into this, but somebody steals it. So what happens? So though there are genuine concerns with this. Now, obviously, crypto and anything digital is actually global. So it's not just an Indian issue, it is a world issue. And the world countries must collaborate together to create a framework on the same. In the meantime, India should create its own safeguards. Okay. Next, I think we're talking about the central bank digital currencies and making it easy for remittances payment. Already the RBI governor said that central bank digital currency will ease cross-border payments. Next, we see minimum threefold increase in tax filing in each tax slabs. So these are issues. These are some other points. Now, more e-filing also is indicative of widening tax base. That is, more people are submitting income tax. Now we come to this central bank digital currency. And by the way, we had some inflation related data. So recurring food prices shocks pose risk to inflation. Of course, they pose risk. Inflation to stay elevated in next few months, but the policies of the government will prevent it from rising further, says Standards and Poor. Okay. Then what policies have been taken? I think that's so stock holding limit, right? So that was there, public stock holding limit, export duty, 40% export duty. So preemptive measures have already been taken, so that should address the issue of inflation, help contain the food inflation. Now the big one, the UPI, QR code and CBDC interoperability. CBDC is central bank digital currency. So what is CBDC? You're getting a definition. For the first time, we're getting a definition on central bank digital currency. It is basically a tokenized digital version of the rupee. Tokenized digital version of the rupee held in a digital wallet, which is linked to a customer's existing savings bank account. Okay, so this is CBDC. Now, again, it's not very clear personally speaking, but yes, we have a definition. So now, when somebody is making a transaction through CBDC, they can make payments through QR code. So QR code. But the thing is that the QR code which is used for making UPI payments will not work. So a different kind of QR code is required presently for making transactions from central bank digital currency. So efforts are being made to link to have interoperability between the central bank digital currency and UPI in such a way that common Q with the QR code for UPI, central bank digital currency payments can also be done. Now we come to the explained section, right? So India, that is Bharat, how Constituent Assembly decided, and this one, a short history of nations' names from Rig Veda to the Constitution. I want you to read it actually. Personally, I want you to read it. So first, this article. So basically, they were very critical when the discussions and debate was going on. I hope you know Article 1, India, that is Bharat, is a union of states. That is Article 1. So they said India is also the name, Bharat is also the name. So there were certain people, in the Constituent Assembly which said that India is basically a name given to us by the British. It is a colonial legacy. We should move towards Bharat. This is a name that is mentioned in the Vishnu Purana and Brahma Purana. So they mentioned Bharat. In fact, Chinese traveler Yun Sang also referred to Bharat. Okay. Now we don't really. There is a bit of a confusion as to how this name has come, or at least who was Bharat. So there is one version which says that it was the son of Dushyant and Shakuntala, who was Bharat. So that is one understanding of this. Then there was also the Bharat clan, right? The Battle of the 10 Kings. So the group led by the Bharat clan had won the war, or Bharatputra had won the war. So on that, the name has come up. So Bharatvarsh, the name has come from there. Okay, a short history of the nations' names from Rig Veda to the Constitution. So if you look at the Hindi version of the Constitution, it says Bharat. Bharat ka Samvidhan, हम भारत के लोग, from the preamble, भारत का राष्ट्रपति, Article 52. So India actually has been mentioned as Bharat only in the Hindi version of the Constitution. In fact, even the national anthem says Bharat Bhagya Vidhata. It doesn't say India. Okay. Then even the passport says Bharat Gan Rajya, which means Republic of India. Now the term Bharat appears in the Rig Vedic as the name of the tribe of Sudars. Right, it's mentioned in the reference of the battle of the 10 kings. So the Rig Veda also mentions the tribe, or to the Bharata's people, mentioned as Bharatam Janam, or Janam. Janam means people, Bharat, so Bharat Jana. And the sons of Bharat, Bharat Putra. So Rig Veda also mentions. So Puranic literature also, which was compiled in 3rd and the 4th century, they also refer to, it's named Mahabharat. Okay. Then Hathi Gufa inscription, written as Gumfa, but it's Hathi Gufa, which is of the Kharvela king, Odisha. So it refers to the Jain king Kharvela sending his army to conquer the parts of Bharatvarsh. So that the region was known as Bharatvarsh, or the territory of Bharat. Okay. Prime Minister Nehru also referred in his book Discovery of India, refers to India as Bharat, Hindustan, right? So interchangeably he uses these terms. What next? Then how this term came about, India and Hindustan, Bharat. Bharat we have discussed. See, this is the Sindhu Nadi, Indus River, right? India. So Sindhu Nadi was there. Okay, so location as just a second. So you can imagine the Indus River, right? So Indus River was known as Sindhu Nadi by the Rigvedic people. Now, when the Persians, the nearby Persians in the vicinity started, they had a problem calling it Sindhu, sir. So they started calling it as Hindu. So Achaemenid Persians started to call it as Hindu. The word Hindu came from there. And it reflects the people who stay to the east of the Indus River as Hindus. So the Persians started to call it. Then the Arabic Islamic people that came, starting with starting with the bin Qasim. So all of them, Mir Qasim, they were also known. They were calling it as Hindu. This region as Hindu. Later on, this region came to be known as Hindustan. So the Delhi Sultanate people also, when they were ruling, so the area of their control was known as Hindustan. It did not mean the whole of the subcontinent, but just the region they were ruling. Gradually, their rule expanded. Right? So whole of India came to be known as Hindustan, especially during the Mughal time. So the British, when they came, they also referred to this as map of Hindustan also, India also. Okay, so that is Hindustan. Now coming to India, the Greeks came. Right. So they translated Sindhu as Indus. In fact, Megasthenes' work is known as Megasthenes Indica. So again, Indica. So in the European culture, this land, India, this land came to be known as India. So when British came, wanted to open this company to trade with India, so they formed the East India Company. Right? And in fact, all these companies actually they had the reference of the term India in it. Okay, so this is it. This is it. So this is it from today's news analysis. Thank you for streaming.